1. Just to give you a bit of background, I'm female and I drive for Lyft at night. I'm on the shorter side at 5 foot 4 inches tall, and have been driving for nearly 6 months. I tend to drive downtown Denver, especially on weekends when there is most money to make. In this time, I've only had a couple of truly scary encounters, and I drive 7 nights a week, at least a couple hours a night. The first scary one started out normally enough for that late at night. I had just dropped off a passenger in Aurora, and was making my way back towards Market Street since the bars hadn't closed yet. I get a pickup that's on the way. It's a nice enough area, and I don't feel uncomfortable. But anyone that knows Aurora, Colorado knows it's not really the best area, even with the few nice areas. A couple of guys hop in, one in front, one in back. Both have on hoodies and are carrying backpacks. But this is Colorado and almost 1:30 in the morning, so not that odd. Where it gets odd is after they get in. I give my normal greeting, but they completely ignore me, shove their backpacks onto the floor, and pull their hoods up while shielding their faces from the windows with their hands. I was instantly uncomfortable, and I could feel something was off. It was only a 10-minute drive, and we were in a secluded area, so I decided the safest thing I could do was complete the ride. I could feel my fight-or-flight instinct kicking in. Within about a minute, I had decided if they tried anything, I was going to crash my car. Neither one had put on a seatbelt, so I figured that would be my best chance. Once we arrive at the location they wanted to be dropped off at, I could tell it was not a good area. Bars on all the walls, trash everywhere, and cars in disrepair. They get out but don't shut my doors and start whispering to each other, glancing at me. One of them has his hand in his pocket, fidgeting with something. I have no idea what. At this point I've had enough and step on the gas, driving off with the doors open. I drove a couple miles until I get to a gas station with lights and people, before I stopped to properly close both doors. I called it a night and headed home to cuddle my toddler and my husband, before having a good cry in the safety of my own bed. I have no idea what they were planning, but I do know I was terrified from the moment they pulled their hoods up, to the moment I drove off with my doors open. The second story takes place a couple weeks after the first. I had sworn off all pickups in Aurora and the shady parts along Colfax at night. I would still drop people off there, but I would also turn my app off and leave the area when I was done. I was downtown as usual for a Saturday night, and the bars were closing. I get a shared ride, which can be very good at bar closing. Now, the thing to know about shared rides is you can't request more than 2 seats, leaving room for 2 more people. I have on multiple occasions had a full car with these types of rides. I get to the person and unlock my doors as normal, and in get 3 people. Okay, small problem, I polite, and tell them I can't give them a ride with 3 people, so they will have to order a different lift. This is where this one turns. Guy: I don't want to pay more. Me: I'm sorry, but either one of you has to get out or all of you do, and you need to order a different ride. This is a shared ride, and that means I could get 2 more passengers and they need seats. With shared rides, you're only allowed to book 2 seats for 2 passengers. Guy: I'm not paying more, so you can just ignore other rides and take us home. At this point, he became aggressive and was putting his finger in my face. Maybe I should have been more scared, only this is Market Street at bar close and it's packed. There are drunk people everywhere, and where there are drunk people, there are cops. I roll down my window as he continues to tell me what I'm going to do and starts threatening to put my bitch ass in its place if I don't start driving right now. I didn't catch the whole of this since I had made eye contact with a cop and was focusing on getting his attention. Me: okay, now you have a new choice. You can all get out, or I can get the cop right there to get you out. Said cop was making his way over, seeing something was wrong. They all jumped out, with the guy flipping me off, and they disappeared into the crowd, still looking for rides. The cop stopped to ask if I was okay, and I gave him a short rundown of what happened, and thanked him for coming over. I headed off to my next ride, who was a very polite gentleman. In both cases I reported them to Lyft so I wouldn't get paired with either again. I also carry a foam pepper spray for defense, and have a dash cam that records the interior of my car now. Since that last one, I haven't had any issues, so there's that. 2. At about 8:30 p.m., there's a knock at the front door. I had just finished making dinner and wasn't really in the mood for social interaction after a long day of errands. Also, there was no car in the driveway or in the front of the house at all, besides my own, and I don't have any idea who this person was. I look out the front window and catch a glimpse of a petite woman standing on my front porch. I open the door and say, "Hi, what can I help you with?"
"Hi, I got locked out of my house. I just moved in and my roommate isn't home. Could you give me a debit card or something so I can try to get in the back door?"
"Sure. Hold on a second." I shut and lock the front door, then weigh my options. I could just give her an old gift card and run the risk of aiding in a breaking and entering situation. Or I can just go eat my dinner and let her bother someone else. I decide that it's not going to hurt anything to give her the card. I find an old gift card in my wallet and take it to the front door. "Here you go. Don't bother to bring it back. I don't need it." I go back to my room, turn on Netflix, and pick up my burrito. As soon as I go to take a bite, there's another knock at the door. It's her again.
"It didn't work. Do you have an iPhone charger?"
"Yeah."
"Could you charge my phone really quick and bring it back, please? I'm so sorry to ask so much of you, but I don't know what else to do."
"No, that's fine. Hold on." I take her phone, shut and lock the door again. I wait the uncomfortable 5 to 10 minutes until the Apple logo pops up on the screen, unplug the phone, then return it to her.
"Thank you so much. Do you mind entering your Wi-Fi so I can Facebook message my roommate really quickly?"
"Yeah, let me do something for you. I'm going to open my garage. It is practically empty outside of some old plywood and fencing, plus it's detached. There's an outlet in there and lights. I'll lend you my spare charger from the car in the driveway, and that way your phone stays charged until you can reach him." So I get her a charger, open the garage door, and then lock the doors again. This woman comes to knock on my door 3 more times to tell me that her phone keeps getting disconnected from the Wi-Fi, and asks me to unplug the router and plug it in again. I oblige. 45 minutes of this, and I'm starting to wonder what's taking so long. If it were me in her shoes, I would have messaged the roommate, waited for his response, and then went back to the house to wait for him, but she's still out there. I wait an additional 10 minutes, and then I go outside to the garage. She's gone. The only thing that remains to prove she was actually there is the gift card I gave her almost an hour ago. I shut the garage door, run inside, lock the doors again, and then head to the front of the house and look out the window. There's a cop car headed west, a cop car headed east, and a cop car turning around in the church parking lot across the street. I call the non-emergency number for the local PD, and they tell me that they arrested her on a warrant and she's headed to jail. But that's not where this story ends. I call the PD back and tell them that this woman had my phone charger on her, and ask if it's okay to come pick it up the next morning. They tell me it's fine, and I set my alarm an hour earlier so I can stop in before work. I try to get some sleep, but my anxiety gets the better of me, and I end up having a shallow sleep, waking up at very little noise. Luckily I have my dogs with me, or I might not have even gotten that. This morning I head to the PD, tell them the story, and ask if I can get my charger. The officer informs me that she had been transferred to the county jail, and her possessions are now there. Great. I call the county jail, and Ms. Grouch over there informs me that the only way I'm getting my charger back is if I book an appointment to meet the inmate and get written consent from her to release all her belongings to me, which doesn't make any sense considering she doesn't know me. The only other option is for me to wait until she's released and perhaps she'll bring it back to me, which I clearly don't want. Hopefully this story was at least a little entertaining, but I'm still upset that from now on I'm going to have to carry my phone charger with me if I want to charge it anywhere but my bedroom. I will at some point get another phone charger, it's just a minor inconvenience at this point, considering I'll actually have to spend money on it. 3. This night occurred about 7 years ago on my way home from my parents. I was 22, young, naive, and, well, dumb. I had just moved into my first apartment. I was the first of my family to move away from our sleepy old train town that I grew up in. So I went home every Sunday to visit with the family, but mostly to do laundry and eat Sunday dinner. I lived about 40 to 60 minutes under the highway, so I generally headed home by 6. On this night in particular, there was a summer thunderstorm that had been pouring down rain relentlessly all day long. My cousins dropped in just as I was packing up to leave after dinner, so I ended up sticking around for a few more hours to visit. I left my mom's around 10 p.m. in the pouring rain, and this was the first time after moving from home that I encountered something that truly scared me. I don't know why I never told anyone about this. I think it had to do with pride. Everyone always gave me trouble about living alone as a single female in a newish area. Anyway, here it goes. I left my parents around 10 p.m. in the pouring rain. Side note, I hate driving in rain. So I am driving down the service road that leads out of town and eventually turns into the on-ramp to the highway. As you're leaving town, the service road turns into one lane right in front of this quarry train loading station thing. I'm not really clear on what the place is. It always gave me the creeps. If you're unfortunate enough to pass through when a train is crossing the road to load, you'll be stuck there a while. Once the road passes the trucks, it turns back into 2 lanes and goes up a steep hill. As I'm approaching the quarry, I can make out the orange lights on a red cab 18-wheeler sitting in the quarry parking lot. Mind you, it's pouring rain. Visibility is low, so I can't make out the trucker until I'm pretty close to him. As soon as I could make out it was a trucker, it pulls out into the road. I had to slam on my brakes to avoid hitting the trailer on the back of the truck. I skid around on the road until I regained control of the car. Thanks for the driver's ed classes, Mom. So now I'm stuck behind this dummy that just pulled out without paying attention, I assume. I keep my distance behind him because I'm a little flustered. For the record, my headlights were on, so if he had been paying attention, he should have been able to see me. Honestly, with the heavy rain and low visibility, who knows? So I'm behind this guy as we cross the tracks and begin to climb this steep hill. Despite it turning into 2 lanes on the hill, he is driving right up the middle of the 2 lanes. Figured he didn't realize it was 2 lanes, so I just putter along behind him, keeping my distance. As soon as he reaches the peak of the hill and the road begins to level out, he moves over to the right lane. Yes, finally! So I move over and begin to pass him. As soon as I get past the front of the truck, he swerves behind me quite abruptly and begins flashing his high beams at me. Usually when someone flashes their lights behind you, in our area anyway, that means turn on your lights, but mine were already on. I checked as soon as he started flashing at me. Weirded out, I put my blinker on and safety changed lanes to get out of his way. He follows my lane change and begins laying on his horn. The honking startled me, and I began to get a lot more flustered. What the hell did this guy want? I moved out of his way, my headlights are on. So why didn't I just speed up and zip away, you may be asking? Well, I grew up in this area. It had been raining heavily all day long, and I know that the service road floods a little in heavy rain, both on the shoulders and in random spots in the middle of the lanes. It's a small Midwestern town. Our roads are shitty. I had already skidded and nearly wrecked once. I wasn't about to floor it on this bumpy service road that floods and risk wrecking again. There is nothing between that quarry and the highway, about 4 or 5 miles of wooded area. If I wrecked, it would have just been him and me. So this went on for the next 4 or 5 miles to the highway. He began tailgating me in addition to the high beams and honking. Once the tailgating begins, I'm in tears. I don't know what this guy wants from me. I'm trying to stay out of his way and get home safely. That's all I wanted. I changed lanes 2 more times, making 3 total. He followed me from lane to lane. As we approached the highway, I floored it. He couldn't accelerate quickly enough to keep up, and I lost him. Finally. As soon as I realize I've lost him and I'm safe on the highway, I just lost it. I was a hysterical wreck. There is only one exit after getting on the highway to stop in the small town the highway runs through, and after that it's all wooded for a good 30 minutes. I thought about getting off at that exit to just calm down and pull it together, but I just wanted to go home, so I sped right past it. I should have stopped. Once the city was no longer visible in my rear view mirror, it was much more calm. I managed to scramble my cell out of my purse and put it in my lap just in case. The rain let up to a drizzle the further I went. I was still pretty on edge. There weren't many other cars on the highway, a majority of them were truckers. I'm cruising along the center lane when the truck next to me in the passing lane begins blaring the horn and moves into my lane, forcing me over to the third lane. He continued moving over, nearly forcing me off the highway. I sped up and changed lanes right in front of him so that I'm back in the center lane. Slow down, so I'm in line with the front cab. I double-click the home button on my phone, camera shortcut, and roll down my window. Start taking pictures of the cabbie. I think the flashes made him realize what I was doing, and he began slowing down until he was behind me again. I got a lot of pictures. I sped up and lost sight of him behind me. I was satisfied I managed to get pics, but I'm just so angry at this point. I pull over onto the shoulder of the highway and wait for him. I just wanted to get behind him so I could get a pic of the license plate and report this asshole. Sadly, he was on to me. For sure, I noticed the headlights behind me, a long ways back, but behind me nonetheless. On the shoulder of the highway, I waited, keeping an eye on the truckers passing me, just to be sure I didn't miss him. I noticed a shadow pass through the headlights of the truck, which spooked me quite a bit. Did he get out of the cab? I didn't stick around to find out. I just took off and got home as quickly as possible. The pictures were a total failure. It was still drizzling. The flash combined with the drizzle just resulted in washing out the pictures. I could see the red cab, but no matter what filters I used, there was no making out exactly what the cab said. Red cab trucker, you're the reason I have a dash cam in my car. Let's not meet again. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 332. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Also like to thank everybody who joined me for Saturday's stream. It was a nice mellow time. Sorry I was a little bit late starting. I kind of forgot I was going to do a stream on Saturday actually. So ended up it was about 10:05 by the time I started, thereabouts. I had meant to start about 8. So I'll have to be a bit more careful about that in future. Not sure when the next stream's going to be. I might try and plan things a bit more. I'm not quite done scanning all the family pictures, but I'm nearly there. I'm getting there. And so when I'm done with them, there'll be no more photo editing on stream. But I might go through, see if I can find topics to discuss. I'm wondering if it would be okay. I'm trying to think of what's permissible to show on stream. You know, 'cause I don't just want to have a blank page or my rather handsome icon on there. I'd rather have something visually interesting. So maybe if we're discussing just various topics, I could go to Wikipedia. We could look things up there. I think that might be acceptable. I'll have to look up, but I think that might be acceptable under the dreaded fair use, because it is literally for the purposes of discussion and analysis. Really, that's what it would be. I think we could argue that it's education. So whatever those subjects might be, I'm certainly open to suggestions. We can pop things up on stream. I've also meant to mention it, before I went on my holiday, I did set up a Discord. Don't have a single clue what to do with it, but I did set one up for Hellfreezer, and once I figure out what to do with it, I'll let you guys know. I'll post a link somewhere to it, and yeah, we'll hopefully get that as part of the whole Hellfreezer arsenal of social media. Was there something else? Oh yes, I was thinking of if anyone wanted to do it, while get certain people on to chat if you want to join me. As obviously, I set my microphone up, so if I could maybe get you in. I don't know if I'd do that through Google Hangouts. Probably the most straightforward way. If I'd get over my massive distaste for Skype and use Skype, I don't know if that'd be the best way, or if there's a way to incorporate Discord into that. We'll see. But certainly open to ideas and suggestions, and hopefully we'll come up with something to make the chats and the streams viable in the long term. Okay, so feel free to leave feedback in the comments, or when I do the next stream, not sure when, possibly Saturday, maybe the middle of the week if I get bored. Thursday seems to be a good day for me to do that. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.